All right, so today for my favorite S&P thing, I want to talk about the McGurk effect. We just talked about it in class. It really interested me, and I wanted to share that with you guys. So, the McGurk effect. It is a perceptual phenomenon, and it's the interaction between hearing and speech perception. So, when what you're hearing and what you're seeing are not matching up, say your video is lagging behind and the audio is still at the same pace, poor audio quality, good video quality, or someone's actually playing distinctly different audio over video where someone's mouth is not actually matching up. These type of situations can create the McGurk effect, where you will hear something that's not exactly what you're seeing or exactly what you're actually hearing, and that is the McGurk effect. So, it was first written about in 1976 by Harry McGurk in his paper, Hearing Lips and Seeing Voices. So they were putting new audio over a video of someone talking while they were studying infants. And during the research, they noticed that the researchers themselves were not actually hearing what they were visually seeing in the video or what was being played over the video. They were hearing a combination of the two, and then that led them to discover and write about the McGurk effect. So vision is the primary sense in speech perception, but it is multimodal, so you are susceptible to both the visual and auditory inputs. Interestingly enough, knowledge about the McGurk effect does not affect your susceptibility to it. So just because you know about it, you know how it works, doesn't mean it's not going to happen to you, which is interesting. A lot of optical illusions are not this way. You can know about them, you can see through them, they're not going to apply to you anymore, but that's not the McGurk effect. So it was written about Warren Wright, 2005. He did a study that showed that inconsistent visual information can change the perception of spoken utterances. So this can affect you in your daily conversations. You're not seeing exactly how someone's mouth is moving. You're not exactly sure if you heard what they said. This misleading information can create a McGurk effect in real life. So, just wanted to give you guys a little example of what I'm saying. So, here we have video from BBC that should help show a little more.
Ba, ba.
All right, there. So his lips were saying ba, and the auditory information over it was also communicating ba. But here, they've changed the auditory component. They've changed the visual component and kept the auditory component the same. And this is the effect.
Ba, ba, ba.
So, what you're actually hearing over that video is still ba, but because he's so blatantly going ba, ba, ba with his mouth, you're perceiving it that way and not actually what's being played, which is the McGurk effect. So, both hemispheres of your brain are working to contribute the integration of speech into auditory and visual information. So there's actually some people that are more susceptible to this because of how their brains are different. People with dyslexia are less susceptible to the McGurk effect due to their inability to deal with consonant clusters. People with autism spectrum disorders have a lower susceptibility to the McGurk effect. But interestingly enough, if the stimulus they're dealing with, so say they saw a ball bouncing, and then the auditory information that was coupled with that didn't match that, they would be susceptible to that McGurk effect, and they would hear the difference. But if it's a human and they're speaking with different auditory information, they're not as susceptible to that as the general population. And it's an identification problem rather than integration problem. However, when people with autism spectrum disorder get older, they generally have a more normal reaction to the McGurk effect. So other things that can affect it for all of us, mouth visibility, visual distractions, familiarity to the face of the speaker. So if you know the person's face very well, you know their mannerisms, you know how they talk, you may be less susceptible to the effect. However, voice familiarity, so just knowing that person's actual voice, does not change your susceptibility. You're still just as susceptible if their auditory information was played over a different visual component. Then your expectation of the effect doesn't play a huge role. As I said, if you know about it, it's not going to affect it, but expectation can play a small role. And then finally, gender. Females have a higher susceptibility to the McGurk effect on brief auditory information. So brief interactions, they can trust more their visual influences and then more susceptible to auditory miscommunications that can create the McGurk effect. However, female voices played over a man speaking visually or vice versa does not change the effect. So that is my favorite S&P thing, the McGurk effect, and it's an awesome thing. It's out in this world all the time, and I hope you guys enjoy the effect and keep loving sensation and perception. All right.